right, welcome everybody. Episode 2 of Talking Sports with the Know-It-Alls. I'm the host, Jimmy, aka the Know-It-All. So this show today is real special to me. The object of our show is we having basic sports talk from an everyday person's perspective. Just common talk, how you talk in the barbershop or amongst family. That's what this is for, debates you have. So this show today is real special to me. So the topic today is number 33 for the Chicago Bulls, overrated or underrated. I have my boy Ant with me in studio today. I got my other boy Ralph, and we're going to discuss this topic today. So I'm going to start off on what do I think. I think 33 is overrated. Let me clarify how I think he's overrated. As a defensive player, I think he's one of the top 10 greatest defensive players. I never knock him for that. But my first reason for him being overrated and what everybody always uses is, what about the year without Mike? Everything is always, that's the main talk everybody has for 33, the year without Mike. But everybody forgets he had 2 other All-Stars on the team with him. He didn't do it by himself. And he came back with the exact team he won the championship with. Only thing he was missing was Mike. That's a big loss. But he added Kukoc. So it ain't Mike, but it helped soften the blow. And I just think he gets too much notoriety for things he didn't do. And everybody talk about just that 1 year. Everybody's had one good year. Derrick Rose had one good year. Draymond Green had one good year. Oh, man. You know, we can go on and on about who had one good year. My thing was Scottie. 33. It's always, he almost. So that's going to be his name for the rest of this show. Mr. Almost. Because he almost won in 94. He almost won with Portland. He almost did this. He almost did that. So, that's my first main thing about Scottie. Everybody always talk about the 93-94 season. Yeah, he led the Bulls in every category, but I just don't give him that much pub. He's not a dog. Everybody know what a dog is. He's not a true number 1. He's a number 2. And he's like I say, Mr. Almost. So we're going to go around with the round table and ask everybody what they think about what I said. And what you think about that on my take.
Okay. First of all, Scottie Pippen is underrated. Let me just throw some numbers out there, y'all.
That statement is garbage. Straight garbage.
10-time All-Defense, a 7-time All-Star, 6-time NBA champion, a 7-time All-Star. May I repeat it? And a 75th anniversary NBA member. Scottie Pippen is underrated. You don't mention Michael Jordan without Scottie Pippen. The Bulls don't win 6 rings without Scottie Pippen. He's completely underrated. Scottie doesn't get the appreciation that he really deserves. Michael Jordan has no ring without Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen has no rings without Michael Jordan. It just goes hand in hand. I think a lot of everybody's reasons with not thinking Scottie Pippen is overrated is kind of personal. Scottie Pippen is one of the greatest players of all time. It just so happened he played with the greatest player of all time, which is obviously Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen is just underrated. He doesn't get enough credit. I know everybody's seeing the book and everything like that, but this has always been a topic of discussion.
I was going to say, this topic isn't even about no book.
Yeah, but I know everybody's really talking about the book and they seeing everything recent, but we've been arguing about this. Scottie Pippen is basically, he's underrated. He doesn't get the credit he deserves. He probably never will be. That's probably why you're seeing all these reports and former players speaking out, but he's not number 33. Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen is underrated, and I believe no Scottie Pippen, you don't get a single NBA championship from the Chicago Bulls and Michael Jordan. You just don't get one.
So what do you think, Ralph? We hadn't heard from this section from today on, folks, is gonna be called the garbage section.
It's the truth.
The straight garbage section. So whoever sits in this seat to my left, the garbage section.
Get Scottie his love.
What you got to say on my first topic, bro?
Well, I'm gonna split between y'all. I don't think he's under or overrated. I think he's right in the middle. Reasons being,
He's almost. That's what almost is. Straight in the middle.
well, I think he's straight in the middle because one, given he is the greatest Robin ever
Exactly.
to ever play the game. Like we all know, Michael Jordan's the Batman. He's the greatest sidekick ever, and they're pretty much, they comprehend each other pretty much for the whole time. They're perfect. But the problem is, what I think people like with Scottie is they look at his stats. His stats definitely are not the greatest when you're talking about rebounds, points.
You're right, because he
assists,
averaged
and all.
16 for a career.
Yeah,
so
his points are mediocre, and that's why I know Jimmy hates him, because his points are very mediocre. Now,
Wait. I'm gonna correct you. I don't hate him.
Okay, we're gonna say this is why you don't like him.
I don't.
Stats is everything, though. And if you're a Robin to Batman, somebody has to take the back seat.
Well, what I'm gonna say about the hate part, I'll let everybody know my hate for him is Game 7, 1990. I'm always gonna hold that against him, which is one of my reasons of him not being clutch. But we're gonna talk about that later. I'm gonna let you finish. Right?
I just think that, like, yeah, Scottie. I think Scottie gets knocked on a lot because of, yeah, you played a Michael Jordan shadow. Yeah, it's given. But you came to a team that already, he was there 4 or 5 years before you. He was already set, and you helped. But it took you 2-3 years, maybe even longer, to get stronger, to become more of a dominant player and all that dominant force. Yeah, you pushed Michael Jordan to become better than what he is, than he was, and all. But statistically, it's just not there. People tested his toughness all the time, especially with the game you're talking about, 1990. Also, with the Knicks, the way how Charles Oakley treated him. I mean, if you look at the Last Dance, you can clearly see how Charles Oakley was, punching him and all that as a kid coming into the league. But secondly, to his credit, you come from a small school. You're not used to playing against dominant, big-time players, especially even at that time. You came from NAIA school at that time. That's what Central Arkansas was. Now it's Division I.
Exactly.
But you wasn't playing against the talent you're playing against in the NBA now. Once you got there. So I think that's the one knack that he had against him. And then also, you knocked upon for it in 94 with the whole Kukoc incident when you didn't want to go in the game because Phil drew up the play for Tony Kukoc instead of you, so you got mad about that. Now, so a lot of people was like, nah, bro, we can't really mess with you on that. And then you look at later on in his career, you really didn't do nothing in Houston when you had 2 other superstar players with you, even though it was later in the careers. But the main thing is Portland. You were in Portland and you really didn't do much. You lost a lead to the LA Lakers that would have cemented. We probably wouldn't even have this conversation right now if it wasn't for that game, really.
Negative.
And all that.
Negative.
I think it would have helped him a lot.
I'm with you probably 50-50 with that one.
I think it would have helped him a lot, though, because it's like, okay, you beat the LA Lakers, you beat a young Kobe, young Shaq, you go to the finals, you win the finals with Portland, everybody like, okay, you're a little bit more of a Batman than we thought you were.
Exactly.
So that would have helped him a lot. And all, but, he got a lot of nicks and knacks, but like I said, I'm kind of like neutral with Scottie. I'm not too much he's overrated, not too much underrated. I mean, the dude's on the top 50, top 75 list.
Exactly.
Great defensive player. He literally shut down a lot of people. I mean, yeah, his toughness is always in question with a lot of people, but I'm just going to be in the middle with him.
You should blame Phil Jackson actually for making Scottie Pippen. Actually changed the system from what Doug Collins was doing. You just said Michael was there, 4 or 5 years before he got there?
He was there 3
Changed
years.
the way they ran the offense, point forward, to give Scottie a chance. Because at first, in the 80s, it was just a Michael Jordan show. Scottie get there, they changed the offensive philosophy. Now Scottie's more involved in the offense. Scottie started making all-star teams. Scottie started making all NBA defense. That's really what the difference is. Doug Collins to Phil Jackson changed the way they were playing offense.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Another, just like you said, another overrated point. Everybody, you saying Michael's in the league 3-4 years. Scottie came probably his third, fourth year.
Yeah,
Fourth
yeah,
year.
87.
Fourth year,
87.
Yeah.
When Scottie came and everybody, the overrated narrative of Mike didn't win a playoff series till Scottie got there. And the teams Mike lost to, his rookie year, he lost to the Bucks. The Bucks is one of the top teams in the East.
Top defensive player of the team was sitting on Moncrief too.
I don't knock
Yeah.
Mike for that. His second year he lost to Boston. Third year he lost to Boston. Both years, if I'm not mistaken, Boston either went to the finals or won. You're not supposed to take away from that. But if you look at Mike's numbers, Mike was putting up numbers each year. So Scottie first year came. Everybody do this. Mr. Almost. Mike don't win. What he averaged, 10 points?
8.
8 points?
Yeah.
That didn't win the series for them. What Mike averaged? What, 40?
Almost.
40.
40 yards.
So that's another narrative where I think people blow something up of the fact of he didn't win the series until Scottie got there. First off, he played one of the teams that's top 10 all time. He had weapons. So you gonna knock him for that? But the same narrative
that's an excuse.
The same narrative they point with that when the Bulls are winning in the 90s and they whooping on AI and other teams, everybody, but they the Bulls, they 96 Bulls. But that's something they want to pit on Scottie. Scottie first 2 years, he was getting the business handed to him. And I agree on his defense. He's a great defensive player. But I'm going to go on your point when you're saying Michael Jordan won Michael Jordan before Scottie got there. Mike was already a superstar when Scottie got there. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They helped each other. But I'm going to give a narrative, then I'm going to let it over to you. Because I have a lot of people in my barbershop going, well, if Scottie would have went to stayed in Seattle, they'd have had a whip with Gary Payton. He would not have been the same player because he didn't have that dog to push him. So everybody want to knock Mike and say, Scottie made Mike. No, Mike made Scottie. And that's where the first three-peat, that's where the problem came in because of how tough Mike was on him. And the reason why I call him Mr. Almost is he thought he wanted to be the man. But in 93, 94, yeah, he got all the accolades and stuff. But my thing with Mr. Almost, he can't handle. You want to be number one, he can't handle that responsibility. Everybody talk about 93, 94, but they never talk about the next year. When the Bulls were struggling, he getting gun charges because he couldn't handle that pressure. The Bulls was on the verge of not making the playoffs the second year when 33 is supposed to be the man. You get what I'm saying? So they struggle to get to the playoffs, and he gonna lose another notch for me because he holding up in the man's shoes, doing the Kevin Hart like, help me, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Help me. You know what I'm saying? He begging for help. If you the man, you gonna play with what you got. You know what I'm saying? So he's never been a player that can handle that dog role. But I think everybody forgets stuff like that. They'll go, but he did up Magic in the 91 finals. Anybody who watched 91 finals, he had moments where he did up Magic, yeah. He ain't playing the whole game. After game one, they rotated, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
They rotated. But a lot of people be
back and
like,
watch that,
Scottie got him the whole series, negative. So that's where my overrated come from. I think a lot of people blow up things that he did, even with his scoring. I've won bets on people saying that he scored more points than Dominique Wilkins. Idiot.
No, I mean,
Need their head examined.
Who,
Solomon, I'm talking to you.
Who were you talking to that said that?
Solomon Pruitt.
Dominique Wilkins and Scottie Pippen on school. Who was he talking to?
But it's just certain things. I don't hate the guy. I just think people blow up his stats more than what they really are. I think he was a great number 2, but people act like he was a straight number 1, and that's my problem. For my money, like you say, he had a good. I'm gonna give him a 7-year peak from I'm gonna say 90 to 97. I ain't gonna give him 98 because he was hurt the year He didn't play half the season.
I don't want to give you that, but I could slide. I could slide more
90
towards
up
your
to
way.
98.
97 is probably.
But I've said this to a lot of people. I compare his best 6 years, and the person I've always debated with people, Grant Hill.
Oh my
His
God,
Detroit
this
years.
guy.
His Detroit years. You look at Grant Hill Detroit years, and Scottie Pippen last 6 years with the Bulls. Other than the rings, because that's what everybody bank on at the end. You know, he got 6 rings.
Ralph, I gotta ask you a question. Did Detroit go anywhere with Grant Hill in those times?
They went to the playoffs.
They went to
But
playoffs.
but Grant Hill was the difference between Scottie and Grant. Grant Hill was a dog.
Yeah.
But that's my narrative. That's my narrative.
Yeah, and that's the problem with Scottie that a lot of people don't like.
That's
It's
where I'm
like
going.
it's kind of like to compare him. It's like LeBron. How people look at LeBron now. They like everybody. You know, it's the whole time LeBron's the best player in the league, one of the best players. Yeah, statistically, he's gonna be the greatest player.
Grant being able to
probably.
do everything. It's a time you look at Grant's stat line: points, rebounds, assists, steals, field goal percentage. Everything across the board. I guess I see why some people in the nights kind of compare him to Mike because everything he was doing because what Mike did with the Bulls when he first got there, leading them in every statistical category until they could talent-wise until they could update the roster. So I get you.
I'm gonna chill out for a minute on Mr. Almost and let you have another point where you think he's not overrated, where you think he's underrated.
First of all, it's just what I touched upon. I think Scottie is underrated. You want to go back until the years in the 80s. You know, they had Doug Collins as the coach in the 80s. Now, I know everybody saw the documentary. I know everybody.
I know the documentary.
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying. I know everybody saw it.
I'm old.
That offense they was running
True.
and everything, that's all Mike dominated. Now, Scottie got there at 87. The Bulls gradually got better as a roster, not updating the roster. Players got better until they get to 90, 91, and they start winning rings. His role with Doug Collins and what his role with Phil Jackson changed, and you don't mention that at all. He went from not getting the ball, everybody sliding out the way, to involving everybody in the offense. That changed my game, and it changed everybody else on the roster game as well. And inherit Scottie Pippen. That's the only reason why we're talking about Scottie Pippen. You can't sit here and tell me if they had Doug Collins as the coach, everything was going to work out fine. Mike doing everything. Getting the rebounds, he's scoring, everything.
All Phil made him do was shed a rock.
Basically.
But
it was better than what they was doing. That made Scottie Pippen.
At the end of the game, guess what? Guess what it went back to? Doug Collins ball. When it came down to it, it came to Doug Collins ball because Mr. Almost
obviously the best
Mr.
No.
Mr. Almost wasn't gonna take no last second shot. You can look at the last shot at Phoenix when he brought the ball up, gave it to Horde. He don't want that smoke when it come down to it.
But if they don't get away from Doug Collins' principles on offense and convert to Phil Jackson, none of this happens. That's why I say he's underrated. Made Scottie Pippen.
Didn't they make the Eastern Conference Final with Doug Collins?
Did they win the NBA championship with Doug Collins?
No. You never answered my question. They made the Eastern Conference Finals with Doug Collins. So that's hypothetical because you can't say they wouldn't win the championship. You know, Philly went to the finals with a one-man band with AI.
But they didn't.
But they went to the finals with a one-man band.
But the Bulls didn't, though, with Mike. They didn't.
They had 3 years of Doug Collins. And every year they progressed more and more. It is not like they just stayed in one spot. So that point about Phil, you know, you got him over the hump. But I ain't gonna give you that one. They
changed. They changed the way they were doing things offensively. That's the only reason why you know it's Scottie Pippen.
I think it helped them.
Go ahead, Rob.
I think Phil helped, you know, because he introduced the triangle with him. He looked at Tex Winters and was like, okay, this is gonna help. And now the Doug Collins pretty much was like, okay, hey, we got a player here. We got this guy who is a dominant player. We see he's better than what we thought he was gonna be. And those first 3 years, 4 years, look at that roster. Dave Corzine and all them, trash. So he really had no choice but to do what he's doing. And now you look at the documentary how he was talking about people's doing drugs, and he wasn't taking the game serious and all that.
But even he said in the documentary, when we converted over to Phil Jackson, things changed where the ball got out of my hands. Of course, Mike didn't agree with, but it worked. It's a part of the documentary where they got it where Mike hit the game-winning shot. I think it's the '89 Eastern Conference Finals, and they run into the locker room. They got that famous Doug Collins. He run into the locker room. Isaiah Thomas get on documentary. What he say? You know what? We just need to just lock up Mike, and it worked out.
But see, you're a great guest because you're doing nothing but proving my point. Because they didn't respect 33 because they knew he wouldn't step up. They knew he would choke. They knew he would nut up. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they came with the Jordan rules because they knew what Michael Jordan said in the documentary. I just need Scottie to fight. I just need him to fight back. That's another issue I had with him. If you a dog, you a dog. You know what I'm saying? Everybody done played a little sports. Everybody done did something. You know. He never fought for himself. He the little brother, if my big brother comes, now I'm jumping up. Or I know somebody gonna block me off, now I'm tough. You know, when he dunked on Ewing and he got tough, he walked away because he knew somebody was gonna get in the way before Ewing got up on him. You know what I'm saying? When X used to punk him, it took Michael Jordan to stand up to X, then he brave, then he got a Superman cape on. He's never been a number one, but he wants to be treated, and everybody, including you, want to look at him as a number one. I've never said wait. I've never said he's not a great player. He's a great player, but I can't put him even with Mike, and I don't even compare him to Mike. But I can't. He's a notch below Mike.
I don't compare him to Mike. I don't put him as a number one option, but I just really think you underrate him. You got him too low on the list.
I never said where I rank him, but
I'm really interested to see because you got him too low.
Would I have put him in the top 50 at that time? Nope. Just like I wouldn't put Dame and Anthony Davis now. You know, but everybody has an opinion. That's my opinion.
If you don't put him in the top 50, they did the top 50 NBA, I think that's 96 or 97. Who do you take him out the top 50 for?
Dominique wasn't on there. Dominique.
All day, every day, twice on Sundays. Dominique.
No doubt. Yeah.
And the only reason they knocked Dominique, just like they knocked Chuck, you don't have a ring. Mm-hmm. We pick and choose who we want to go with the ring. Because, you know, Ori got more ring, got 7. But you don't put Ori in nothing. Even though you got a couple goofballs, couple goofballs who say Ori is a Hall of Famer. You know, so make me side eye people, you know.
Yeah, they talking about Ori is a clutch player.
He's clutch, but he not a starter, doesn't have any individual things.
You know the difference between
he hit an open jump shot.
You know the difference between a clutch player and just a player and all that, like he has no. Horry is just comes off the bench. Sometimes he started, depending on what he's.
But that's what I'm saying.
So being clutch is Kobe and Jordan and them, where if it's 2 seconds left in the game, they make the shot. It makes a difference and all that. So, but they're not gonna get ate up in the media, regardless if they make it or not. If they miss it, they're gonna get worse. He missed that shot. No problem. That's what they want. They're like, oh, okay, Horry missed the shot. We expect him to do that. It's kind of like how. Let's put the narrative back to Scottie Pippen. Scottie Pippen take an open shot. If you look at a lot of pictures,
Mr. Almost not going to take him.
You look at the picture when Jordan made the last shot in '98. Where's Scottie Pippen at? To his right on the wing. Yeah. Wide open. Everybody's close to the paint. Scottie Pippen's wide open.
To touch on what you said, even that shot against the Suns, he passed the ball and gave it up.
He don't want this smoke.
Yeah, because you really don't see, I'm not sure exactly how many shots Scottie Pippen ever took in clutch time and all that, or for a game winner. But I'm sure it's not many.
No, it's not.
And all that. But you know, but then they'll try to say, oh, you got this clutch player, you got this, that, another, and all. It's like that's how Scottie is. And then to touch on Scottie too, with being a dog, like kind of got to agree with Jimmy with this, and I hate to do it, but
too bad. Facts are facts.
If he got drafted by Seattle. If he would have stayed in Seattle, I don't think he becomes the player he becomes for one reason. Michael Jordan pushed him. He didn't really have that dog, and we really still see he didn't really have that dog. I really didn't see that dog in him until later in his career, until that 97 back area.
And I agree with y'all, but I still feel the system that they ran.
System helps a lot of players, but dog is either you got or you don't. And all that. That's something you're born with. Either you gonna play, you playing sports, you either born with being a dog or not.
Absolutely, I agree with that. Absolutely.
Kobe, Mike, dogs, born dogs, killers. Isaiah Thomas, killers. Scottie Pippen, that's not him. LeBron James, that's not him. And all that. They're good players.
Mr. All
Great players. But I think he stay in Seattle. You gotta think, he got drafted in 87. Gary Payton ain't there yet.
No, he's not there yet.
Sean Kemp ain't there yet.
No,
They don't get
And all
Gary
that.
Payton.
You probably don't get Gary Payton depending on how their record turns out, because you never know. You bring a kid from Central Arkansas, NAI at that time.
Too much pressure.
A lot of pressure. You never played against no players that are dogs like that.
Still learning the game.
Right. And you still learning the game. And you learn the NBA game. You learn the pace, the physicality, and all that.
But that's the thing. I agree with what he says. It's just Jimmy has Scottie Pippen too low.
If he goes to Seattle, he retires early from early migraine.
I don't think he retired. I think he's out the league by 94.
His migraine.
I think he plays like 7 years at best.
His migraines
even his
are
position
done.
in Phil Jackson office, the point for you see how they do basketball today. He's the first.
Yeah, I mean,
his own cat.
But
You want to say Dominique take his spot?
No,
That's
because
too
Magic
low.
Johnson was
You
the
never
first to do that.
You never heard of Paul Pressey?
Yeah, and Magic Johnson did that.
No.
Okay, you telling on yourself.
No.
So don't say he the first.
No.
When you come on.
So why they mention
Sports with
Scotty
the
first then?
Know-It-Alls,
Why they always mention
when you
Scotty
come on
first?
talking sports with the
Scotty is
know-it-alls, hey, your facts.
Scotty is a better known player.
And he has
That's
6
why.
rings.
And he got 6 rings. Paul, a lot of people know
That's
who Paul
really what I
Pressey
wanted
is,
y'all to say.
But even with Paul Pressey, if you know anything about him, his sons played in Mizzou. Sons was very good players.
But you guys,
and all that too.
But
But that's like a lot of people don't know. Like when Jimmy mentioned Milwaukee earlier, people are like, "Oh, Milwaukee was nothing." Look who's on that team.
Yes, they was. I knew that.
They had Sidney Moncrief. The dude was a 2-time NBA Defensive Player of the Year by that time. And all that. So, and Jordan dogged him. And all that, even though Milwaukee won the series, but Jordan was still out there killing. They just didn't have nothing at that time.
I think
you know what I'm
Sidney
saying?
Moncrief
Underrated.
is a better player than Scottie Pippen. But that's another debate. That's just my personal opinion.
That's really not a bad debate either, though. Like
That's my personal
Sidney
debate.
Moncrief and Scott. I mean, statistically,
This is what I'm talking
they
about.
might be right there points-wise, too.
But what I'm saying,
to be honest with you.
When I seen the highlights of Sidney
Sidney
Moncrief, but back then I thought he was a better scorer than Scottie.
But see, my thing with Scottie Pippen.
Yeah.
Scottie ain't a pure
Nah,
scorer.
Scottie
He's
is
not.
not his.
I'm not
and
gonna say
that's what I'm
that.
saying. Like that's
He's
what a lot of
scoring,
people
no.
get the things mixed up with Scottie is because the fact that they try to throw scoring in there.
No.
Some players are just not. He's not that.
Yeah, he's not that
He's
guy.
not that type of player that's gonna go out to get you 40, 50, or high 30s, maybe even high 20s on a nightly basis. He's around that 16 to 20 point range. Sometimes maybe 12 to 16 range because of the fact that that's how his game is. You look at him; he really don't have no offensive moves.
I was just finna tell you.
And he didn't really use his size to his advantage a lot.
No.
And because he could have got on the post with a lot
Scottie
of
got a
players.
lot of his points when I seen in transition.
Yeah,
and
he was a
open
good
shots.
transition player because he played defense.
Well, we'll do this. We'll do this. And quiet as kept. You're making my point so valid. Good job.
He's still
we're gonna
underrated,
take
man.
away the Bulls years. We're gonna take away from the Bulls years. So we're gonna go to Houston because he only stayed a year in Houston, and Portland because he's supposed to be this quote unquote dog. Now he goes to Houston. I know they're a little older, but he played with Akeem. He played with Barkley. You know, he didn't do nothing over there. So I guess they're gonna be Chuck fault or Akeem fault.
It definitely is.
Plus, when he went to Portland, Portland brought him in to get them over the hump.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna even say to be the man, but to get them over the hump. Which I think Michael Jordan was in his later years with the Bulls. It's like, we good enough to do this, but we need you to get us over the hump.
So, pause. I got a quick question. Pause. So, since y'all a little older than me, when he got with Portland, who was the face of Portland back then? Because I always thought, y'all a little older than me, I always thought it was Rasheed Wallace. That was the guy. Because when I used to watch Portland, I never used to see if they had a guy.
Portland has so many.
They
had a lot of guys.
players.
That's all I'm saying.
But Rasheed Wallace
Pound
was
for pound,
pretty much like that.
That's all I was thinking.
player.
Okay, facts.
But they
That's all I
brought
have to say. That's all I
Scottie
have
in
to
to
add.
be that vet
to help them
to
get them
help
over.
them get over the hump.
Yeah.
So when they're up 20 in Game 7, that's where Mr. Almost is supposed to calm them down. I've been here. Look, man, we need to do this. Take our time. He didn't do that. He crumbled just like they did. So yeah, that really gonna take a knock for me because it's like you want this, and that's my thing with him. He wants people to forget his mess ups. You know what I'm saying? He just want people to paint this narrative. But my thing was with him, he wasn't a clutch player. You know, clutch defender, I'll give him. But a clutch offensive player, so many games in the finals, he missed some free throws late in the game. He was terrible. He was on LeBron level almost with free throws. He was a terrible clutch player. And people, like I say, people piggyback on when you get on him, 6 rings. 6 rings, but he got 6 rings.
10-time defensive, all defensive.
Since we've been on the show, I never ever doubted his defense.
And I never said he was clutch.
Never doubted his
You
defense.
said overrated or underrated.
Defense,
I never said he was clutch neither.
I will give him top 50, top 75 player on his defense alone. But his overall game, no, sir. It'll never happen. But, I'm going to pass it to you because I don't want to hog the mic. On something else that you may think causes him to be underrated, which I think is asinine, but that's just my opinion. So what is another reason that you think that Mr. Almost is underrated that we could talk about?
I mean, we pretty much touched on really everything, really just the defense. I really think y'all underrate that. That don't get enough credit from you specifically. It doesn't.
I'll talk about his defense.
I just don't think he gets enough credit. Then you say, I know Ralph said, you don't have an offensive move. I know that. Wasn't really good from 3. Scottie really hit a lot of really open shots. He got really most of his points in transitions because the Bulls did. They did run in transition. I mean, you got the greatest scorer ever all time. But Scottie was a good passer. So Scottie was a good passer. I mean, that was the whole point of point 4. But defense to me is the reason why he's a little underrated. You don't give his defense enough credit. I don't think you do.
No, because I done seen Masburn give him 50. I seen Adrian Danley destroy him.
Big dog.
Until Detroit traded him. Like taking him in the post 6'5" and putting him in the torture rack.
So ain't no such thing as a bad night or a bad night.
I'd say a bad matchup. Just the same way they'll say so-and-so would give Mike the business. Well, Ron Harper used to give Mike the business. Well, I know a few of them. And like I say, Big Dog made him come with his lunch pail. Big Dog gave him that work. Monster Mash gave him that work. We ain't even talk about Grant Hill.
They still show Grant Hill highlight when he marked him out of socks.
But that ain't knocking him being a good defensive player. I'm always gonna give him credit. Truth be told, Scottie Pippen was one of my favorite players as a kid. Until Game 7, 90.
Wow.
He just on his talking. He just on his talking now.
No, he
just on his talking now.
But Scottie too is like, if you look at it in football terms, he's like a great cornerback. Or he's a great cornerback that try to play offense all of a sudden.
He's Richard Sherman.
Hey, there you go. He's a person who
he look at Scottie like a Richard
defensively
Sherman.
He can shut you down, but he's gonna take L's too because you're not gonna be good defensively without getting killed by somebody. Don't matter what you play.
And like Sherman, he's not gonna own up to his faults.
Yeah, and offensively, he was okay. Like that's why most cornerbacks are cornerbacks because they can't catch.
No, you can't catch.
And all that, so that's why they can't play wide receiver. That's how Scottie is. Defensively, you can't question him. Offensively, it's like, all right, bro. It's like that ain't your game. Like he's a good transition player, like you were saying.
Passed the ball pretty good.
And he passed real good and all that, but that's not going to help him for his quote unquote dog status and all that. And that's another knock against him and all that. Even though, like I said, I'm basically in the middle with Scottie, not over, not under, but it's like a lot of things don't work in his favor. A lot of things do work in his favor. A lot of things that helped him was, you played the greatest player on the planet. You got 6 championship rings. You played on the dream team. You got a lot of defensive awards. You got you had your time to shine those year and a half when Mike was gone. But what you go do? You go not cool coach, and you start doing crazy things. You go put your shoe up to the camera talking about I need help. So it's like, bro, you're not helping your case. You in a 1990 game, You're not doing things that you're supposed to do
And I was just finna
to
say,
help you
that's the
get
migraine
to that
game, right?
status. Yeah. So it's like,
So what
and
about
then-
the other injuries he
And
played?
then look what he did. Then I mean, now giving his credit in '98, you had that back injury. I give you credit and all that because you at that point where it's like, all right, that's only Scottie's 10th year in the league. 10th 11th
Well,
year in the
in
league.
'98, I blame him the back at the end of the year because you took too long to have surgery.
Oh, come on, Jim. You know that was for the.
I
for
don't.
the
I get what you're
contract.
saying. I get what
You know
you're
that's for
saying.
the
But you
contract.
took too long to have your surgery. So now you had, when you came back, you had to rush to come back. So now you're gonna be, having problems.
So
You're not
personally,
practicing as much.
what you would have did if it was your contract situation? If you was in the same footsteps as Scottie Pippen, 33 as
This
you
is
would call
this
it.
is what I'm gonna say.
What
This
would
is
you
what
would
I'm
have
gonna
did back
say.
in 97, 98?
My mindset, me personally, is different than. I'm gonna take it to how he grew up and everything. I ain't grow up dirt poor. I ain't grow up rich either. You know what I'm saying? So my outlook is different. I ain't saying he ain't competitive. The man made pro. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? He was a pro, but I like playing. I like competing.
Understand?
I'm obsessive being a competitor. I like playing. I like winning. I like competing.
But you know your worth too.
I know my worth, but I hate to say this. I'm too arrogant. I'm like, I'm gonna get mine anyway. I'm trying to get this ring. You know what I'm saying? I love to win. You talking to the guy who had a fit for not winning a pin the tail on the donkey as a kid because I hate losing. If you beat me in cars, I won't speak to you for a week. I hate losing. If my kids beat me in PlayStation, I don't play them no more because if they beat me, they don't punish me. I hate losing. I hate losing at anything. If we finna leave, go out, I gotta go first, man. I'm gonna be mad.
Very petty.
So with the Scottie
I know.
talk, I'm playing because I got 2 rings. I'm like Michael Jordan. I don't want nobody else to win. I'm petty like that. I don't like people like, man, I'm tired of him winning.
But it's so funny that y'all can sit there and say that Mike was getting paid.
No, let me tell you.
Mike didn't get paid a lot, but he still was decent.
Mike didn't start getting paid until his last 3 years with the Bulls. His first 7, 8, 10 years of league with the Bulls,
I know.
He got paid more off of endorsements than he got paid off his contract with the Bulls. He wasn't really getting paid that much. Now with Scottie's situation, me personally, I'm kind of with Jimmy on that.
122nd in the league.
But I
That's
got
his fault.
But
I know it is.
But
his fault.
I'm Scottie. I'm gonna bank on myself. Okay, I know I'm being underpaid. I'm looking. Okay, I'm getting paid.
I come out here ball and I win. I'm getting paid.
But I'm a touch on what Jimmy say. It's a risk.
But you always take a risk. But you take a risk
every day.
You take a risk every day. But I'm taking a risk. He made it to the.
Man, I'm taking
he
a risk.
made it there.
Look, I'm taking
and
a risk coming here doing the show. I'm taking a risk. You know what I'm saying? It's always a risk. But we gonna switch it up a little bit. I'm gonna switch it up a little bit. So we talk about Scottie and the Olympic team. In '96, I honestly think, he's supposed to be Olympic in '96. I'm going to give him his credit. I think he was in his bag in '96. I think he was at that, do his thing. I'm going to give him credit in '96. We're going to talk about '92 only. On Facebook Live, you can chime in. In '92, do you honestly think he should have been on Olympia? Me personally, once everything was over, he proved that he belonged there, but at the time that the team was selected, no. I didn't think he should have been on there. I think a lot of politics played into it. I think Zeke should have been on there, but if Zeke would have been on there, Mike was going to be petty and wasn't going to show up. But if we just did a list, if we just did a pure list of who should have been Olympians in '92, I think Isaiah should have been on there. He could have replaced Scottie. I wouldn't even replace Stockton.
Oh my God!
Because Stockton was the man. He wasn't Magic, but he was the man.
I know that.
I would have took Scottie. I would have took.
Y'all know who I'm about
Leitner.
to say, right?
I would have took Scottie and Leitner.
Thank you.
But I had to look at it with Leitner.
He was the college kid.
He was the college kid.
They always put one college kid.
Shaq would have been a monster, but you really didn't need Shaq.
When you got
David
Robinson,
I got
Karl
David
Malone
Ewing.
and all them, and Ewing.
So you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna just touch on Scottie. Did you think Scottie in '92 two deserve. Was you born?
Nah, I was born '89, so I was already conceived in the world looking at shit.
So I'm gonna let me hear your trash bag.
Woo, man, hey.
Analogy. So in '92,
That's a
Go
tough
ahead,
one.
go
I
ahead, go
mean,
ahead.
I'm not finna sit on here and cap. I'm gonna say Scottie Pippen underrated. Much I would love to say, and y'all say I have to keep the college kid on there, right? I can't take him off because he shouldn't have been on there to begin
the
with.
college kid, that's part of the program. I'm just saying, Scottie. I'm gonna call him Scottie for the Olympic team, which is burning my soul.
See,
I'm gonna call him Scottie for the Olympic team. Did you think for '92 that he was deserving to be on the Olympic team? Go ahead, Ralph. I'm gonna let Ant think about it for a minute.
I think so. I think he earned it at that point in time. I think he did. I don't think he had the best year that year, but he was definitely deserved. I mean, of course, Isaiah should have been on there, but
yeah.
but we all know with the politics of that, Isaiah wasn't gonna be on there because even like Mike said, when they called him about it, first thing he asked was who's gonna be on the team. And
I think he got on the '92 team politics. I think Mike.
Yeah,
And
Mike helped.
That's my.
Mike helped with that.
I mess with Mike as much as people talk about him, and even now what the goofball is doing to Mike. Mike always, not always, because his first 3 years he was hard on him, but in certain situations he always was trying to pull Scottie in the line like with him. Like, man, I couldn't do this without him. I couldn't do. He wanted him to get his shine, so I'm always giving Mike credit for that. I think it was too early. I think '96 was too early. And I think I honestly think in '96. I mean, when I say '96, I don't mean '96. Top 50. I think the top 50 was too early because I honestly think, just like they do now, and once I found out the criteria of what they gave the top 50 was basically 10 players at each position instead of going through the you did.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I knew that back then. Yeah.
figuring that out, I still think back then I still didn't think he. I didn't think he merited being in the top 50. I'm such a student of the game, and players who don't get the fanfare, the Bernard Kings, the Alex English, the Adrian Davis.
Alex English was nice.
You know, that's where my
He'll really give you a dub.
I think Scottie is in that age. You know, he came in the internet, the Sports Center
classic video.
You know, the Sports Center age where you got to see him a lot, and you know the media portrays stuff a little bit more. But for everybody out there who know me that thinks I hate Scottie Pippen, my only issue with Scottie Pippen, he cost me $100 when I was 15. So. That's just my thing. You know, he wasn't my thing about me saying he's overrated. He wasn't clutch. He wasn't dependable in the clutch. You know, defensive wise, I'm always gonna give him pub for his defense. He was always an almost person. You know, I think what really gets me is people talk about that 93, 94 season when, like I say, the Bulls came back with the exact squad that won the championship, except for Mike.
Yeah.
And their mindset was based. Everybody thought Mike was coming back. So in my head, if I'm thinking he coming back, all right, man, we just gotta hold the ship until Mike come back. So that's why they played. I think they played in over their head because they like, we just gotta hold the fort until Mike come back in. Kukoc came, and Kukoc wasn't no slouch. Like I say, he wasn't no Michael Jordan.
No.
But
Kukoc had a game.
if you could add him to what you already got,
What,
you
16
know,
and 6'11"?
you could
shoot.
you could roll.
So let me ask you then, Jimmy. Do you think Scottie was robbed of MVP that year?
No sir.
93, 94?
No sir.
So if I don't remember exactly.
Dream won.
Dream won in 93, 94?
Yeah.
So, because a lot of people say that, you know, Scottie probably, you know, it should have been more closer than what it was. And
The voting could have been closer because you got Scottie, you got Dream, you got Dave, Ewing. I think Scottie year was.
Because who did they beat that year when they won? The Rockets won the first one. That was not
The Knicks.
Orlando Knicks.
They beat the Knicks, yeah.
And then they beat Orlando next year.
I think the year without Mike, I think all it was field offense. Everybody touched the ball. Scottie is very unselfish, but it worked out the way it should have.
Yeah, basically my point I was proving earlier. It's the way they ran offense.
No, I'm never knocking that, but my thing with that, you do what you do, we need that dog, that go-getter.
Get the ball to Mike.
And and what people won't say, that year when they needed those shots, Kukoc took those shots.
No, I know.
Scottie didn't. Kukoc took those shots. And I ain't even talking about the playoff game. I'm just talking about the regular season.
Because Kukoc a higher percentage shooter because Scottie, Scottie is a better open shooter. I can shoot the ball when nobody's in front of me.
Exactly.
Kukoc, if you look at percentages and all that, if you know anything about any basketball, any sport, you look at you play percentages.
Phil said that.
Kukoc was a way better option because not just because of his height, because he offensively had better skill level than Scottie did.
Yeah.
So and then the way Scottie shot the ball, most of the time probably gonna get blocked if a person really tries to.
But let's be real. Let's be real.
And most of his shots he was open.
Let's be real. Scottie might have complained, but if Scottie was that dog,
he'd have been taking
when Phil called a play, when they walked off the court and walking on the court, leaving the huddle, he told him, "Man, you better give me that ball."
That sounds like something.
He done went.
That sounds like something that you do.
He probably
It sure is. He probably sure is.
If he was really like the dog that he said he was too and all that, I wouldn't have sat on the bench. I'm like, all right, y'all know he called this play, but this is what we're gonna do. Y'all gonna set this flat screen down here on this bottom of this baseline. I'm gonna come on and get the ball, same place that Kukoc got the ball at, and I'm gonna do what I gotta do. Everybody clear out, get out the way, and all that. Y'all don't throw me the ball? All right, cool. We gonna see where we gonna go from there.
At the end of the day,
we gonna be in the boxing because at that point in time, at that time in the NBA, that's when they was fighting each other.
Yeah.
And all that. He would have been like, all right, I don't get this ball. Okay, we'll see about when we get into the locker room and see where we go from there. But percentage wise, especially just that play right there, Kukoc, like that's a no brainer. And Phil is a percentage type of coach. He teaches and he coaches in terms of, let's see where we can get the highest percentage. That's why the triangle works so well because it's designed for a big and a dominant shooting guard or small forward to get the ball in places where you can always dominate on the court. Yeah. That's why Michael Jordan was so good at, Kobe Bryant was good at. Neither one of them was great three-point shooters. They was great mid-range, 16 to 20 feet. Able to score with no problem. That's why they did so well in that. And all that. And that's why a lot of other teams we tried to run it never worked well. Never and all that. Even if you don't have a dominant big, which the Bulls never had. We had Cartwright, Bill Winnington, Dave Corzine, Luke Longley, and any other bum you could think of. They'll just plug them in there. But that's why it works so well because it's about setting them screens and everybody clearing out spacing on the floor. And that's why he was able to dominate like that. And all that. So that's what helped the Bulls a lot too. And Phil knew Scottie couldn't do that. Come on, I mean.
Because the season you talking about, he hit 2 game-winning shots before he hit that shot in the playoffs.
But I'm going to say this and we're going to wrap it up. I think our points was valid. I think you made some good points about him being underrated. I don't agree with him. But I think you made some good points. It's a debate we can have that we can debate. You can debate anywhere. You know, on Facebook Live. Never, always, if you want to chime in on what you think about Scottie Pippen, Mr. Almost winning in '94, Mr. Almost winning in Houston, Mr. Almost winning in Portland. But I think that was a good topic. I think that was a good talk. You know, we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to thank my 2 co-hosts, my man in the trash bag section, Ant.
Support my boy, got to the Scottie zone. Support my boy.
Don't show that
retros,
no more. Don't show that no more. For Ant, for Ralph, you know, I'm the know-it-all. This is Jimmy, you know. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're going to come back and hit you with another show probably in another week or 2. You know, keep watching, keep supporting. You know, everything is love. I appreciate all the love. You know, every show I'm going to end with a shout-out 10:30. You know, anybody that know me know what that means. So we're gonna wrap that up. See everybody later.